Should I have the headphones on? I mean, I already know. What do I think without the headphones on? I don't like it. I don't like it. And let's keep those headphones on. So this is the first video that is like, so I'm just like going to unceremoniously start a podcast right now. This is basically taking a channel that used to be Ambient, unobtrusive, you could sleep to this footage of whatever for people to not watch because they have problems with stimulus and they need a more laid-back life. It didn't work, and I didn't have passion for it, so whatever. Now it's going to become a podcast platform of, it's like a podcast where you go, nobody's going to watch this. And so in this case, it is just what is ... Matrix doing right now, which is not making ... Matrix videos. That's the most obvious thing. How should I lead this with? Okay, so right now I'm doing the 20th anniversary remixes. It's basically, I recorded some demos in 2004. It's the first time I did a real collection of music where it felt like, oh, this is like a cohesive thing. It's not just like randomly all over the place. That's how it felt before. It's just stripped down acoustic stuff, not trying to fill out the songs. Although I started to at the end, I started layering stuff. So there's a few songs that were basically complete the way they were. But the point was to make acoustic demos that would be re-recorded as other, like electric and any kind of version, but just do it, vocals and guitar. It's like 20 years later, and I'm like, hey, let's take those demos and just make them what they are and put layers on them. And it's not the same, there's versions that I could do that are how I was envisioning them, and some of them exist, but this is just like, hey, it's 20 years, let's do this thing. And it's the only thing I care about, so it's like for past me to have validity, basically. Like, oh, I'm porting. It's like, oh, I'm porting. Oh, fuck this. I'm porting my 20-year-old self to the future 20 years later. And it's like, if you don't port to the future, things become forgotten. And if anything, the act of making an album 20 years ago was starting to go out of fashion. It especially doesn't matter right now. Whatever. It's like, now is the time to port to the future. And I could talk about that when it's actually happening, but that's what I've been doing. Even though I did just get monetized on YouTube, so it's ironic that I got monetized 4 years later, and then I immediately stopped making videos and start posting to another channel that is like not monetized at all. I've been resisting doing this for a long time because podcasts are oversaturated, and there's plenty of super famous people who are doing a combination of great and extremely mediocre. The point is, it's filling the void.
Now, shall we dig into all the delicious content you have in store for us?
We actually don't use that word here.
But it's the perfect word to describe all that tasty entertainment out there.
There's nothing I can bring to it with this. And on top of it, I guess the place I was going with Matrix in the past, 6 months, is to really focus on making something that's good. I've tried ranges of doing, got to work for the analytics and all that stuff. It loses its fulfillment, especially if it doesn't actually pay off. Like, if a video doesn't get 1,000 views, it's basically like, if you don't feel something for it, then you were better off not doing it. And that's the lesson. So it's like, okay, let's aspire to things. Which aspiring to things is, it's a double-edged sword, because you feel something for it, like I can elevate. But at the same time, it's easily can be very discouraging when the world you're living in is both super high expectations, like everybody is competing for this, and simultaneously the system that people are competing in has priorities that it will reward, and like quality and trying to be as good as possible is not at the top of that thing. There's a reward, especially originality. I found that like picking an idea that is not been done or has very little done about it. Like if you land at the top of that, you will get rewarded. It doesn't, people who are very successful may observe the other way because they've got views just coming no matter what. So they can do something that's successful and be late to the game and it'll be fine for them because they have inherent views. But if you're trying to grow, it does, like if you do something that is already been done and you're like, I'm going to do it my way, you get a sliver of that for, I don't know, like a week, maybe even 2 days. I mean, I've had things surge like boom, 4,000 views in 48 hours and then nothing after that. And that is because, most likely because it's a topic that's already been chosen. So it's like somebody's already on top of that nest. And the way the system works is just that, like, if it's like, oh, we'll give you, can you oust that person? Probably not. Not if you don't have 1 million subscribers. Then you're gonna it's just gonna be bloop, and then forget that video ever existed. So I guess like where I'm going with this is that it's a particular game that is can be demotivating, where you go, right now I'm set up to make $20 a month. So 4 years of kind of pushing, with some breaks in between. So now it's $20 a month. Okay. Like I can make $20 in 30 minutes, hypothetically. So I guess the situation becomes, well, if I'm not feeling it, then there's no reason to do it. Especially if you don't believe that what you're going to do is like going to grow. Like if you think, okay, this is another 2,000 view video, then it's especially bad when you go, oh, here comes another 2,000 view video and it stalls at 200. And then you're trying to figure out why it did that. And it's tons of problem solving. Like I can be really into why, oh, okay, well, the next video, like I got a bunch of plans for how to treat new videos now. Like something as simple as putting a temporary, like the latest video, just having the word new in the top left corner. Kind of watching analytics like right away. I have a tendency, like when I drop a video, I'll watch it when it's live to be, oh yeah, this is what it's like for it to exist in the world. And then it's time to move on to the next thing. Well, what I should be doing is nursing analytics to say, well, it's not picking up because of this, and maybe I need to shift it to that, and changing thumbnails. It's annoying. I'll see Netflix where they'll change the thumbnail all the time, and because they don't have a notable, like, you've watched this, it can seem deceptive. Like, did I watch this stand-up? You think I would have, but like, it doesn't seem familiar. So I don't know. I think that's annoying in that regard, like changing thumbnails to try and trick people into watching something that they maybe already watched, which if it's great, like I'd love to watch it again. But at the same time, on YouTube, theoretically, you can tell if you've watched something, even though there's situations where you might be tricked into not. Like you get to the end of a video and then it loads a video that you've definitely watched. So why are you showing me this video? I mean, I know things should have rewatchability, but at the same time, I'd like to consciously be like, oh yeah, that was good. I'd like to watch that again. Like show me the watch it again feed, or tell me that, hey, you want to rewatch this, but don't trick me into it. So I've always kind of resisted that. But at the same time, I'm seeing there is motivation, not motivation, that's not the right word, but there are benefits. Apparently there's benefits to saying like and subscribe. I've resisted it for so long, and then when I start saying it, it happens. It's the same thing as you do. You try and engage people, and it's like, well, I shouldn't have to, and I don't like doing it, and I don't even know why engagement is a stat. I've even gone to the trouble to people talk about engagement stats. It's like, that's actually the reason I stayed out of YouTube for a while. Like I had a YouTube channel, but I didn't have public videos. I didn't like the idea of comments being associated with videos. So, on my first channel, there's a bunch of stuff where the comments are turned off. Which is funny because maybe you were able to do that in 2010, but it doesn't matter. Now I think it's a little standoffish, but at the same time, there's situations where you just go, these comments aren't appropriate for this. So yeah, my old channel, if there's stuff where comments are turned off, that's just because like that's how I uploaded it, or that's when I made it public. I was like, okay, we're going to turn off comments. I don't think YouTube is as trolly as it used to be. I think it was a free-for-all where it's just like the worst in people rose to the top. I think it's a little more normalized, and I think there's systems that make it so that that doesn't get out of control. So there's no real incentive to be trolly because it just kind of gets swallowed up and you don't get the feedback of the negativity that you're looking for because of the problems of your own life that you're trying to fill the hole by like being poisonous to other people. Anyways, is that the real point of this? Again, this is just like, this is day one. I don't even want to say that, like this is day one. There is no obligation that there will be a day two, but this is the beginning of, or maybe the end of a thing that I've always been inclined to do. And it really has to do with like the idea of like, well, why bother doing it? If I'm already doing something else and I can get paid for it and I'm barely getting views as it is, like it's disappointing really. But that's the reality of it. It's like oversaturation. So this is like, especially like, why do this thing when it's so oversaturated? It's just, I feel like it's like a coming late to the game situation. Like, okay, like if I was doing this in 2010, I would be with the ball. So a lot of it is the sense of just, well, that's not worth doing, right? But at the same time, you know, video makers got a video make. There's complicated ways to do simple things, and then there's just simple ways. So it's like if I just want to do an update, then I could just do it without really having to think about it too much or have that same standard. Because dot matrix is very, you know, there's an aesthetic to it. And so whenever I'm thinking of doing something to like be more efficient, it's always not rewarded as much as you think it would be. Like in the, oh, this is more efficient and I'm getting the views and that will make some money to be able to, so I can actually like have ambitious times. But those things never really do good enough for me to really warrant it, where it's like, okay, I'd rather do like 4 really good videos in a year than to do like 20 just efficiency videos. There's an expectation. There's like a relationship with the music and the video and the way the cadence of it is and the presentation that I just don't want to be like plopping stuff down. So I cut stuff as often as I can. You know, if I could put the kibosh on an idea, well, then I just saved myself a bunch of time, which is to like vet it for not being good enough or, you know, being, I guess, just being redundant. Like, oh, well, that technically exists. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that's enough for this. We'll see how this goes. And if I want to like give updates on what video ideas are, or to do like trial stuff, like to try an idea, like to demo, just like go back to this whole 2004 demo thing that I'm doing.
Call back.
So clever.
Back in the day, I would record demos and vet them. Like, it's not like, oh, everything goes. Like, if it gets finished, it's going. It's interesting. If I finish a video, it's going. Like, I finished it. I'm not like gonna be like, okay, I finished it. It's not good enough. But when I was doing demos, I'm finding tons of stuff that I never finished. And I was attempting to finish some of that stuff. And then I realized, oh, there's a reason I didn't finish this song. It doesn't have enough. So the idea that like with videos, I'll be like, oh, well, I put the time into this. I got to put it out there. I can always recall it. Like I can, if it doesn't do well, I can cut it. But I guess my level of standard 20 years ago was to just for demos to be like, oh yeah, I put a lot into that, but let's cut that. And when I do music for the channel, the amount of time I spend on a video is how much I would spend on a song back in the day. So obviously I can't spend the same amount of time on music for videos as I did back then, because that's like my time budget for making the video itself. So when I do a song, it's like whatever comes out. Sometimes it's recording random stuff, just thinking this will go somewhere, but And then it usually ends up going in the next couple videos because it's like I got it in my head and it just like times well. But I guess the point is that like I was doing music back then like above the standards of what I was doing for videos now. But in the more recent times, I have been trying to be a little more focused on being like, okay, let's make this one a winner or make it feel like it's a winner. And even doing that, like there's a few that I don't feel like are winners. I did the racing 0 to 30 miles per hour video. I felt like that's an action engaging video. And then I followed it up with like a conversion of MPGE to MPKWH. And, you know, the arc was like, okay, what's the next one? Where can I go from that? It was like, go for a worst of best of video set to a racing video to a math video with lots of whiteboard. And then when I finished it, it's like, why did I do that? And it didn't do very well either. And so then I came back with, I guess I came back with the worst of best of CB200. The worst of, that was a quick turnaround because it was like, I didn't want to be left hanging on that like math video. So I guess the point is it's like, even when I'm like trying to like do stuff to a certain standard, like when I afterwards, I'm like, it's not like there aren't some moves in it that I think, oh, that was a good, I got some good structure or, you know, moves, like things, doing stuff that's unexpected, adding a little more. Like you could do the standard thing, but if you do this thing, it makes it better, more dynamic. And the active, well, there's things I did put into even failures where I go, well, I can implement that in the future. Like that could be, oh yeah, that's the first time I did that thing. Try that again someday. It's interesting how like good moments sometimes aren't enough to save something that's not good enough. But yeah, speaking of not good enough, we'll see if this is tolerable or not. This is just the first. It's not even the most like oh yeah, I'm ready to do this instance of me recording this. It's just literally that I'm like set up to record something, and it occurred to me to do this. And so it really is like, I haven't done videos in a while. Let's try this. Let's do this. Unceremonious. And then I'll decide if it's worthwhile to keep doing this. Like if I feel like I need this as an outlet, especially if I'm not going to be making dot matrix videos for a while because I am a little occupied. And that's the end of that. I'll figure this out later.
This is WGGB's